Curbing waste and conserving precious natural resources are two big environmental challenges we face. Now, science and technology can offer promising solutions to some of these problems. But in some cases, maybe our ancestors really did know best. Welcome to EcoAfrica. I'm Malama Mukonde in Lusaka, Zambia. And it's great to have my colleague Chris Elems joining me from Lagos, Nigeria.
A warm welcome, everyone, from me too. Let's take a look at what's coming up in today's show. How African worms could help tackle the world's plastic problem. How small-scale fishers in France are sparing fish stocks. And why it pays to recycle old solar panels. First, we go to southern Ethiopia. Settlement in the Konso Islands have always had to cope with the region's harsh environment, and they did so over the centuries by creating a unique landscape. Now that climate changes are getting worse, communities are doing what they can to keep their traditional practices going and to get the younger generation involved.
When the antelope horn sounds, it's a call to action. 78-year-old farmer Tedese Zewede is one of the first to respond. He knows how much depends on it. More and more villagers from Gelgele follow his lead. At least one person from every family is expected to take part. Do your bit for the community and mend what is broken, they chant. The rainy season is expected soon, and with climate change increasing the threat of extreme weather, the ancient terraces need to be repaired before the rains start. We are working to stop our soil from being washed away by floods using a traditional conservation method called kaweta. Passed down over generations, it embodies community cooperation and soil preservation. The Konso zone in southern Ethiopia covers an area of almost 2,300 square kilometers and is named for the Konso people. For centuries, the Konso have been crafting terraces from stone and earth to farm these steep mountain slopes. In 2011, the Konso cultural landscape was recognized by the UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. But many young people, drawn to modern life, have already moved away to Karat, the capital of the Konso zone. Back in Gelgele, some have turned out. The elders want them to understand just how vital it is to care for the terraces, a responsibility anchored in a system of community work called Debo. Debo can be understood as a cooperation for mutual benefit. We strongly encourage young people to participate. And here they are really putting their back into it. This rock has to be moved. Soon this land will be turned green. The women are breaking up the soil with their hand plows to get it ready. Once we finish our work here, we are going to prepare the planting of different food crops, including turnips and beans. The repair of the terrace walls is an intricate business. Each stone is carefully chosen as they all have to fit together like a puzzle. The walls protect the fertile soil, stopping it from being washed away even in heavy rains. Whoever misappropriates stones from the terraces is punished by the community in accordance with the Konso's cultural code. The guilty parties are socially stigmatized or fined. The stone walls slow down rushing flood waters, allowing the water to be absorbed by the soil, a traditional water management system. Our work will stop our soil from being washed off our fields. Although we now get less annual rainfall, the terrace easily retains moisture and collects water for us and our cattle. Water holes are located at the lowest parts of the terraced fields. this water is from the last rainy season. In periods of drought, like now, they are used to irrigate mango and moringa trees, for example. The leaves of moringa trees are cooked and eaten like cabbage. The sorghum in this field failed despite irrigation. It was just too hot even for this hardy cereal. People across the entire Konso zone spend a month getting their terraces in shape ahead of the expected rains. Currently, we are working on 18,245 hectares of land, building stone structures for terracing. We began this work in all 62 Konso villages in mid-January and will continue for a month. But for the Gelgeles villagers, their day's work is done. Time to celebrate what they have achieved together.
Our planet is choking on plastic. The problem is that it almost never degrades. It just gets smaller and becomes more difficult to remove from the environment. It's clear we need lots of solutions to tackle this global problem. But could nature itself hold the answer? Well, that's what researchers in Kenya are looking into.
These researchers have discovered something remarkable. Worms that can feed on plastics. Styrofoam, to be precise. It's a material that doesn't degrade easily. But these African mealworms could help find ways to break it down.
This mealworm is typically found in chicken coops and a stored grain paste. And we took it and put it on plastic. And after 30 days, we wanted to examine what is in their gut. So upon examination, we found that it had high elevated levels of bacteria that are known to degrade plastic.
For a month, researchers only fed styrofoam to the critters. The worms had a survival rate of 70%. But here's the downside. It's just too hard to keep large groups of mealworms for the purpose of getting rid of plastics. The study found that currently this is neither practical nor profitable. Also, when the worms mature, they prefer another diet.
So our future plan is to go further to see if we can reproduce this bacteria for plastic degradation, or even go further to produce the enzymes that can be produced in industrial scale for plastic degradation and which are easy to apply in real life.
It's not the first time that researchers have found a worm that can feed on plastic. But it's the first time a native species that eats plastic has been found on the African continent. Even though the mealworm's superpower can't be used on a large scale, the researchers are hoping to advance the science behind it to help tackle the growing problem of plastic pollution.
But small-scale solutions can sometimes be better for the environment. We're going to France now, where some fishers are turning to older methods that are kinder to marine life. They may catch less, but their premium quality fish is going down well with customers.
A winter morning off the Breton coast. William Macker is fishing for mackerel, using a traditional longline method.
I felt 2 or 3 bites.
With 25 hooks on his line, it doesn't take long to reel in a good haul.
It's gentler and doesn't damage the fish like trawling. The fish stay in good condition. They aren't crushed by a dragnet or stuck in a drift net for 2 days. The fish aren't marked up by the netting because it's only a hook in the mouth and the meat is really firm.
Il va être super ferme, il va pas être tout mou, quoi.
William rarely pulls in more than 300 kilos of fish in a day. That's to protect the fish stocks. And his boat burns less than 10 litres of fuel, which also conserves resources. William depends on fishing for a living, so he focuses on quality rather than quantity. This is important for the Poiscaille company. Some 90% of William's catch ends up in their warehouse, south of Paris. The fish are weighed and packed for the customers.
Industrial fishing fills all the quotas and monopolizes the fishing grounds, so the small-scale fishers have it tough, but we support them by guaranteeing good prices.
Fish and shellfish to order. Fresh from the sea to your plate. Charles Guiriec applies the vegetable basket concept to seafood products. He buys his seafood from all over France and guarantees that it reaches the customer within a mere 72 hours.
We want people to eat less imported fish and more of the lesser-known fish from France. In France, for example, we eat 100,000 tons of shrimp a year, but catch barely 1,500 tons ourselves. We want to encourage people to consume more local products. These were caught in environmentally friendly nets, not farmed. That makes a huge difference.
William boards his boat early in the morning for his customers, but he can't completely avoid modern technology.
This sonar helps me find the fish. This layer is a shoal of mackerel. Here's another one.
William's main competition comes from the big fishing fleets, which land fish by the ton.
Last week, 3 or 4 boats from a supermarket chain were here. They took 60 tons of mackerel overnight. There are 6 or 7 small mackerel boats here in winter, so you can really tell when the big ships have been here. The next day, the mackerel are all gone.
Since early 2025, the European Union has imposed stricter catch quotas to protect the mackerel from overfishing. Now, only around a third of the previous year's catch is allowed. A total of 60,000 tonnes. For William, this means no more than 150 kilos per day.
We'll just have to adapt. We can also catch squid or cuttlefish besides mackerel. There's always something out there to catch. If I can pull in 40 or 50 kilos a day, that's enough to live off.
William hopes he still has a future as a fisher, despite all the regulations.
From locally caught fish to local recycling solutions, staying in Europe, we go to Germany, where people are waking up to the value of used solar panels. Now, while new units are obviously much better at generating energy, old ones contain precious materials. Now, researchers and business people are devising new ways of retrieving them.
More and more solar farms are being built, and they're getting bigger and bigger. But photovoltaic cells become less effective as they age or break, like here in northern Germany. This solar farm is only 14 years old. The cells are all broken, and they're broken because they weren't installed properly. So the old panels have to be removed, 1,600 of them. The operators could have sent them abroad for recycling, but they decided not to. We chose a facility in Germany not far from here. Well, it's about an hour and a half's drive away, rather than halfway around the world. The waste experts in the western German city of Münster are pleased more and more solar farm operators are using domestic recyclers. The panels contain a lot of rare commodities, and you can save a lot of energy if you use recycled materials. It's also extremely important to keep those recycled materials here in Germany, so they can be used again by industry. If panels are exported, it's the same as in other industries, we lose them. The reclaimed materials, or recyclates as they're called, are becoming increasingly important. A year ago, Reiling set up a plant specifically to recycle photovoltaic panels. Before that, it was merely a sideline for the company, which just recovered aluminium and glass. Now they aim to extract additional commodities with more complex recycling procedures. The company developed the mechanical sorting plant itself, and we're not allowed to show it in its entirety in case the competition get wind of it. Almost everything is automated, with just one employee there to remove cable remnants by hand. We're no longer restricted to glass and aluminium. We can also recover the other components in the modules, from silicon and silver to copper. We recover all these elements, and of course they all present different challenges which we are very intensely focused on. Reiling is not in it alone. A few hundred kilometres east in Halle, scientists at the Fraunhofer Institute are taking a closer look at the silicon powder from Münster. They've been working on how to recycle solar panels for a long time. This material here still contains cell fragments and possibly small amounts of metal contaminants. Aluminium, copper for example, or aluminium from the frame, we want to recover them. Up to a certain point, this process is mechanical here too. But the researchers can only get so far with that. To get to the remaining components, you have to dissolve them chemically, like in this lovely blue solution. And the silver can be precipitated from this solution. It's the silver we're after. It works, but not yet on an industrial scale. Some startups and companies are now entering the solar panel recycling business. There's a bit of a silver rush going on. We have about 80 million metric tons of solar panels around the world. If we do the maths, that's about 30,000 tons of silver that can be recovered. That's an opportunity not to be missed. The Fraunhofer Institute researchers have managed to make new solar panels out of the old ones. But that doesn't come cheap. Frank Zobel is nonetheless convinced that recovering raw materials will become increasingly important. Even silicon, which is basically sand. Or is it? The silicon in the form that is currently used isn't regular sand, but a very special silicon of a certain purity, silicon oxide of a certain purity. And it is in limited supply, and global supplies could run out in 10 to 15 years. So we need alternatives. The recycling of photovoltaic panels is worthwhile for a number of reasons, and it could become a central part of urban mining, the extraction of commodities from junk. For aluminium, it's already working smoothly, and for glass, the separation process is becoming more refined, so its quality is also set to improve. Reiling is optimistic its business will grow. We anticipate getting some 10,000 metric tons this year and being able to process that amount this year too. Over the last few years, we've already seen a sizable increase in volume. Last year, for example, we recycled 8,000 tons, and there's significantly more now. And replacing old panels with new ones really pays off, as we can see back at the solar farm in northern Germany. The latest technology is so good, we only need a fifth of the area to make the same amount of electricity. That will mean a rise in scrap panels, but increasingly these won't have to go to waste.
Landslides are becoming increasingly common in Uganda. Now, changing rainfall patterns and deforestation are at the root of that problem, as in many other parts of the world. So what can be done to secure hills and mountainsides? Well, it sounds unlikely, but one answer is beekeeping.
The landslide is still fresh, so is this family's horror. The slope has simply been gone for the last 2 weeks. Fortunately, no one was injured. Still, the landslide was an alarm signal, not for the first time here on eastern Uganda's Mount Elgon.
This really reminds us of the urgency to protect our environment, restore the degraded landscapes, but most importantly, empower farmers to ensure that the agriculture they are practicing is sustainable to reduce the climate-related disasters, but also contribute to their livelihoods.
Local farmers have cut down trees on Mount Elgon to make room for fields. A quarter of the forest on the extinct volcano slope has been lost over the years, even though a large part of the area is actually a nature reserve. The consequences? Erosion and damage to the ecosystem. The NGO Bees and Trees wants to reverse the trend. Founder Stephen Bright Sakwa has brought seedlings of native trees, free of charge. The NGO is mainly financed by donations. Beehives are also given away. A reason to be happy, because everyone benefits, the people and the environment.
What we are doing is to motivate farmers to reintegrate trees in their farms. And how are we doing this? We fundraise, give them modern beehives, as well as trees which act as forage for the bees. Now the bees are an incentive for the farmers to plant the trees because they know for the bees to make honey, they need nectar as well as pollen from the flowers bared by the trees.
It is almost the cheapest activity to do. You can do it even if you have little capital.
Indirectly, the new trees will help to earn an additional income. Sakwa wants to convey this to the villagers, a change in mentality compared to the mindset that led to the environmental crisis. The consequences of landslides can be seen everywhere. In future, the new trees should help to better hold the earth in place.
When we plant these trees, they play a role of binding soils together. We plant the trees and we don't just plant them, we grow them, we monitor them, we track them, we map each and every tree that we plant.
Landslides often occur during heavy rains. The deadliest incident was in 2010. The Nametsi slide claimed the lives of more than 300 people. Many people lost their homes and fields back then, and some of those affected are still waiting for help.
For those who are living downwards here, their lands have gone. If they can give some help of land, of housing, I will be very grateful if they give me another place to be.
The soil on Mount Elgon contains a lot of clay and therefore absorbs a lot of water. Together with deforestation, this is a fatal combination.
So two things come to play. The natural parameters, or the so-called the nature of the slopes, but also the pressure that comes from the communities themselves.
Now, everything is supposed to get better with the help of bees. Around 60 households in the village of Ukukiri and the surrounding region have started beekeeping. They are being trained by bees and trees and supported with equipment free of charge. What an adventure! Putting on a protective suit for the first time, or calming the bees with a special smoke in the middle of the forest.
The bees come and get the nectar or the honey, the nectar, which they go and start forming the honey. So those things, the trees and the bees go hand in hand. Without a tree, you can't have a bee.
The will to protect the forest is growing to the extent that families can make a better living from beekeeping. Stephen Bright Sakwa's NGO also helps them with marketing.
We buy the honey from them, add value, and sell to final consumers. The market price for honey at farm gates is 18,000 shillings, Uganda shillings. Yes, but for us, we buy it from farmers at 25,000. So that gives them another incentive and a motivation.
We need to change the mindset. We have to support these local communities to appreciate their own environment first, and then give them the interventions that really they can appreciate and take on, that even beyond the intervention period, they can sustain them into the future.
More than 5,000 trees have been reforested on Mount Elgon in the past 2 years. That's not much compared to what was lost, but at least it's a start.
It's time to say goodbye now. We really hope you've been inspired to bring change to your world and get others involved too. If you have, do let us know at eco@dw.com. We love hearing from you. I'm Chris Olems in Lagos. See you next time.
And I'm Malama Mukonde in Lusaka. If you'd like to watch more uplifting stories, just search for EcoAfrica online. You'll find lots of content. So join us again next time. Goodbye.